Good evening, everybody. I'm Juan Fernandez. This is KCAL News at 9 o'clock, along with Desmond Shaw and Mike Rogers over at the desk. Following this pursuit of somebody wanted for some sort of felony, I'm not exactly sure what, but you can see here traveling right now on the 91 freeway westbound. And whatever he's wanted for, he clearly does not want to stop, going at speeds of up to 100 miles an hour. Right now, right in the middle there of the carpool lane, going at a brisk rate of speed and not hitting a lot of traffic. We'll go back up to Desmond Shaw. Des, can you bring us up to date for those viewers just joining us here at 9 o'clock?
Yeah, we've covered a ton of ground here, Juan, at very high speeds. We've been above 100 miles an hour for the majority of the pursuit. Look at this, up to 120.
Yep.
We were at 137, I think, is the fastest that I saw earlier on the 60 freeway, zigging and zagging all over the place, squeezing in between cars. Extremely close calls where could have clipped numerous vehicles. Amazingly hasn't. We've been on the right-hand shoulder in the center divider, in the Gore Point passing lanes, last-second maneuvers all over the place. You saw a CHP unit there. Let's see if they're going to be getting involved. It looks like they are. This is the closest that we've seen someone in many miles, because they've had a lot of trouble keeping up with this suspect. This began with LA County Sheriff's deputies in the Torrance area, a known suspect for some sort of felony. There's been a back and forth about whether or not the suspect is armed and dangerous or not. They've kind of been waffling on that point. But we went northbound 110, we were around downtown LA, then we blasted eastbound into the San Gabriel Valley, southbound on the 57, west 91, now kind of headed back towards the 110. So a huge loop around to the area, the kind of general vicinity of where this all began. And as these clouds are starting to drop a little bit, you're going to notice that our shot might look a little farther. And that is because we're all kind of getting compressed down here. And as I was just mentioning, we have to give some space, obviously, to the sheriff's deputies who have been following this one. But there is a very long pursuit, a very fast pursuit, westbound on the 91, now in the Compton area.
And of course, the uncertainty, Desmond, is what officers are concerned about. Is this driver alone? Is there somebody else in the car? Yeah. Is he armed? What's the story here? Again, a suspect wanted or a driver wanted for some sort of felony. Yeah. Mike Rogers over at the desk, what do you got?
Yeah, you know, Juan, there was a passenger in the car at one point in time. Okay. They got out after they dropped him off. And I just want to, point out once again to our viewers, we're seeing Desmond's shot get kind of further and further away. That is because the clouds are getting thicker and thicker. I just want to, SkyCal's down at about 700 feet, which is pretty low for us.
Oh, whoa.
Uh-oh.
What's happening there?
Oh, he hit, I think he lost his tire. Not sure if he hit something in the roadway or what. I never heard anything about a spike strip or anything like that. But look at this, all of a sudden,
CHP's right
we
there.
might
Front
be ending this pursuit.
Too.
Yeah, we got a couple of tires out. If it was just from the fast driving or if they hit something, because I never heard about any spike strips, and it would have been a difficult thing for them to do anyway with these speeds.
Whoa.
But we are getting off the freeway. We'll see what the suspect decides to do. That unintentionally getting involved. They're going to try to block him in and bring this one to an end, and we might know he's still determined to get away. But you've got the rubber dangling off there. Look at CHP really trying to get aggressive with this one. Yeah, they're looking like they might, but I'm not sure that they're going to do that with no front tire. They typically won't do that if the vehicle is in this bad a shape. But let's see. Kind of looking like they want to off at Avalon in the Compton area. And boy, it's even more dangerous now, because now we've got someone who's driving at a high speed in a car that can't take those speeds. It's going to have a lot of trouble controlling this vehicle. Let's see if CHP can somehow bring this to an end here shortly.
Well, we just replayed that video, Desmond, of moments ago when it looked like the car lost a couple of tires, and it almost looked like he may have scraped the side there of the wall, right?
Yeah, no, I played it back even further because I wanted to see if there was a spike. Like Des was talking about, but there really isn't. Before he even hits the wall.
Here we go. Wow. Yes? No?
Wow, they're really going to hit him. Wow.
Little fast on the pit. I think that's why they backed off.
Oh, and there's other cars there, too.
Yeah, and you also had a couple. Oh, wow. He tried to clip the bumper there. This guy's got to know CHP means business on this one. So just clip the bumper right there. Tried to spin him around, but couldn't quite do it. And I'd just be very curious to see the physics involved. Look at this, 75 miles an hour, and we're missing tires. We know, I believe we've got 2 bad tires on this one. And if these are, I don't even think these qualify as run flats. I'm not sure, but I mean the one that the rubber had practically separated from the wheel, and yet it continues here through that red light, not slowing down. CHP still sticking with this one, and they look like they want to pit this guy, Mike and Juan.
Yeah, and I played back that video, and his tire looks like it gave out before he hit the wall.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe he hit the wall, and that's what caused the tire to give out, but it looks like his tire gave out before that even happened. So I don't know if he just ran the car too hard and it finally gave up, but here we go. Let's see if they're going to get a pit again here.
The road is nice and clear, so it would be a good opportunity to do it here. And I'm wondering, Mike, maybe he hit some debris there on the side of the road.
That's very possible. It looked kind of like he knew that something was happening and he was getting over to the shoulder, but then the tire gave out. And, you can hear Des, too. We're the further north we go, we're still dealing with cloud layers. As we know, for the further north we get, the more west the clouds come in. So Dylan and Des doing a good job of trying to, get as behind this as we can. But there's that replay one more time on the right side of your screen.
Here it comes.
And he doesn't hit anything. You see the tire start to smoke, and then he kind of bounces off the wall. I have no idea really what caused that that tire to give out like that. But CHP now real eager to try to make that pit maneuver happen. As Des was saying, spark, Des?
You're seeing sparks? Yeah, we got sparks coming out of the front passenger side. Yeah, and we were just having problems there. Hawthorne is not clearing us into their airspace right now, and we've got the clouds. It's low IFR, they're calling it. It's just really, really bad news weather conditions for us, unfortunately. We're trying to stick with this one, but there's just so much distance between us and, it looks like they might come in with the pit right there. It's so close.
They're itching.
They really do want to bring this one to an end. Very, very aggressive tactics, but it was kind of almost inevitable for this suspect. The way they were driving and on the right-hand shoulder, that's where a lot of debris can get piled up, and he hit something. I've talked about that in many pursuits. It's such a gamble when they do that. When you treat the right shoulder like a wide-open lane like that. Eventually, you're going to hit nails or screws or any kind of sharp debris that can mess with your tires, and that's what happened to this suspect. And yet they continue. We've gone miles now as we go underneath the 105 freeway. So now we're into the LAX airspace.
I think we're hitting our bingo card with all the flight restrictions we're hitting, Des.
No kidding.
Dodger TFR, Fog, Hawthorne, and now LAX.
And you're doing a great job, Desmond. We can still see the red and blue flashing lights there, the CHP, and hopefully we're going to be able to see an ending to this. And I have to wonder, do they know more about this driver, especially if that other person got out of the car? We know he's wanted for a felony. Do they now know what that felony is? My guess is yes, based on these aggressive tactics, right?
And I would say by now, yes, based on the aggressive tactics, yes. But I would say by now, this has gone on long enough that, initially when we first brought you this pursuit, the sheriff's department down in Lomita Station just knew that they ran the plate and was wanted for a felony. They were working on what that felony was. They were working on who wanted him, all of those kinds of things. This has gone on long enough that I'm sure that information has been obtained now, which could explain why CHP is chasing this so hard. And unfortunately, the further they get north into the LAX Bravo airspace, plus the mix of clouds, we're starting to lose it here. So Des is going to look at it for as long as he can, but really not our night for airspace issues.
What is IFR? He mentioned IFR.
IFR is instrument flight rules. So Desmond and our pilots, Dylan, fly by what's called VFR, which is visual flight rules, essentially meaning that Dylan has to be able to see the ground beneath him to fly over it.
Correct.
IFR is you can use the aircraft's instruments to fly using instruments instead of being able to see.
I see.
We cannot fly in IFR conditions, which is what a lot of the west side is right now.
I see. And here we are, Desmond, and you're doing a great job there, just keeping this pursuit in shot there. And again, this car going at high rates of speed with two damaged tires. Somebody wanted for a felony in CHP in hot pursuit there. And the issue with us right now, as you see as Desmond opens up the shot a little bit, is that we are now close to LAX, which has flight restrictions around it. That's a big problem. And even for CHP and LAPD as well, Mike?
Yeah, so law enforcement right now, we are east of the 110 freeway, which gives law enforcement a little bit more wiggle room. If they were west, I'm just hearing they hit a pedestrian.
Oh, no.
So we'll figure out what the severity of that is, but there's...
That's terrible.
Oh, man.
Yeah, they're just talking about...
Avalon and 84th.
Avalon and 84, you said?
I heard that as well.
So they're going to try to get an ambulance out there. This is the second time we've been in this area.
What are you hearing, Mike?
just listening to some of the radio traffic talking about, yeah, they're asking for the fire department to respond for that uninvolved pedestrian that was struck. I was just going to say this is the second time we've been here. So they came up, the first time they came up the 110, and now we're, paralleling the 110 to the north on the street that they're on now as they come up. The next major is going to be Florence here.
Yeah.
Things just got a lot more serious with a pedestrian getting hit, and my guess is we're going to see CHP doing the best they can here, not that they haven't already, but to bring this pursuit to an end. Again, a pursuit of someone wanted for some sort of felony. As you see here on the left side of your screen, those are our live pictures from Desmond Shaw and KCAL. We're still trying to find the location here once again of the pursuit, as we are in an area that's restricted. And you can also see it's a little hazier too, a little fuzzier. So due just to the weather conditions out there, we're starting to see that marine layer move in just a little bit. So that creates a problem, as well as the flight restrictions around LAX. Do you see anything there, Mike?
Yeah, real quick, there's been a second crash. So he hit the pedestrian. They're now requesting an ambulance, lights and sirens. It sounds pretty serious. Then there was an additional crash at 84th and Avalon.
Right, that's the pedestrian.
Where they hit another car.
Not a person, a car.
A pedestrian and a car.
Oh,
so a pedestrian was first, then they continued. A pedestrian was at 91st and Avalon. They continued north at 84th and Avalon. CHP officer detaining at gunpoint. He's out of the car, 73rd, and 73rd and Avalon.
73rd and Avalon.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're taking him into custody right now.
And Des, how close are we to possibly getting a visual on that?
We're about a half mile to the east on this one, but we're going to have to wait for that CHP helicopter to leave the area. You see them there circling like a hawk. Once they are out of the area, we'll be able to go in and get a look at the mayhem from the ending of this. But I was just so afraid of it ending like that. An innocent person getting involved with the kind of driving that we saw, and continuing to drive like that even after losing tires. Absolutely ridiculous. At least it's over, and they're being taken into custody. But just an extremely unfortunate ending for this pursuit that started in Torrance, went a very long ways, and came to a crashing end here in South LA.
And Juan, you see in Desmond shot, that helicopter is flying back south. That helicopter is now going back to check on the pedestrian that was hit. So that's what that helicopter is doing. The suspect is now in custody. They're checking on
whenever we're able
two
to move
crash scenes. They're also requesting some additional CHP units from different offices to try to get in here to try to help. So
we have multiple crime scenes now.
Well, now we've got three, right? Yeah, we've got where it came to an end, where the guy's in custody. You've got the car crash at 84th and Avalon, where the car hit another car, and then you've got the pedestrian crash at 91st and Avalon. And Juan, here at the desk, we listen to a lot of radio traffic, and I can tell you the urgency in the CHP's officer's voice when they wanted that ambulance at 91st and Avalon has me pretty concerned for the condition of that pedestrian. We know how fast they were going, both on surface streets and the freeway. The urgency in the request for an ambulance on that CHP officer's voice leaves me to be pretty concerned about the condition of this.
And no regard to the people out there tonight. And you can see there on the left side of your screen, Desmond showing us one of those CHP cruisers with lights on there, just going through the area here.
No, it's over, but.
Yeah, and that's actually sheriff.
That's sheriff. Okay.
Yeah, been requested. They've got CHP and sheriff, and now the fire department all trying to get there. Their primary concern has been to try to get to these people that were hit by the suspect.
Gosh, and we're hoping, of course, that the injuries are not severe. But again, when you see someone who's been, driving down the freeway at speeds of over 100 miles an hour. And no regard whatsoever. That is a big concern. All right, we're going to continue monitoring the situation as soon as Desmond Shaw can get closer to these locations where we know we possibly have some injured people and where the suspect was taken into custody. We'll get right back to him. Thanks to Desmond and to Mike Rogers at the desk. All right, now to our other top story here at 9. A guidance counselor at a West LA high school accused of sex crimes against a student. Good evening, everybody. I'm Juan Fernandez. Pat Harvey is off tonight. Tonight, the LAPD says there could be even more victims that have not come forward yet. KCAL News reporter Lori Perez is at the school in Pico Robertson with the very latest from police. Lori.
Juan, a student came by earlier tonight and told us this has been just awful and they want this woman locked up. Now, we are told that the alleged crimes did not happen here on the boys' campus of Yeshiva University High School of Los Angeles, but it did involve a former counselor and at least one student, if not more. Police say 37-year-old Julie Tichon was a guidance counselor on the boys' campus of Eula in Pico Robertson. But with at least one student, rather than advising him, they say she was abusing him. Tichon is facing 4 felony counts of sexual assault on a 16-year-old boy.
In conversation, often people downplay that when it's a teacher-student and if the teacher's a woman. But if this was a 37-year-old man going after a 16-year-old girl, no one would think that was okay. So, there's a very clear line of professional conduct when it comes to teachers and students.
LAPD arrested Tichon in August after the teen came forward with his parents to report the abuse that allegedly happened last spring. The head of school reportedly told parents a second student made a similar complaint. Tichon no longer works at Eula, and LAPD is now looking for other victims, noting she had been working at the school for 4 years.
Mainly just from our prior experience investigating cases like this, where if she felt comfortable doing that with one boy, we're concerned that she may have felt comfortable doing that with others.
Police say, particularly with women, there is a sense of security female predators can take advantage of.
They're able to reach out, be alone with boys in ways that probably people wouldn't allow a male teacher to do that. Thankfully, this kid spoke up and said, no, that's not okay. And the school did the right thing and worked with us on that to make sure that this won't happen to other boys.
The DA's office says Tichon pleaded not guilty to all charges. She was released on her own recognizance. She faces 5 years in prison if convicted. She is due back in court in early November. We are live in Pico Robertson. I'm Lori Perez. Back to you.
Lori, thank you. Take a look at this photo released by Fontana Police tonight, giving us a look at what led them to shoot and kill a man today. Police say they were called out to a shopping center on Cherry Avenue and Baseline Road for a man reportedly swinging a metal pipe at an AutoZone, damaging things inside. Officers say the suspect attacked an officer with that very pipe and they opened fire. The suspect died. The officer involved in the shooting was injured and then later taken to the hospital. One of LA County's largest and most powerful unions is threatening to shut down the county if county officials don't hammer out a new contract. County leaders are firing back, blasting the union for threatening to walk off the job months before their current contract ends. KCAL News political reporter Tom Wade is here to explain why both sides are locking horns, Tom.
Yeah, it is getting a bit tense based on the exchange that we saw today. So hopefully we'll get everyone to the table soon and see if they can make some progress. So these are critical positions across the county, frontline positions like hospital workers, public works, social workers, all are threatening to strike if the county doesn't meet their demands. But the county is saying, hold on, there is no crisis here yet.
Are you ready to shut down LA County if we don't get what we want?
LA County's Service Workers Union threatening to grind the county to a halt if a new contract is not hammered out.
Are you willing to do whatever it takes to protect our jobs?
These managers are not going to listen to us if we say pretty please.
Service Workers International Union members voted to authorize a strike starting October 10th if progress on contract negotiations aren't made. That could mean as many as 55,000 county workers walking off the job across a vast spectrum of departments, including hospital workers, public works, even the coroner's office.
Let them go and take care of the foster kids. Let them go and take care of the clinics and hospitals. Let them go and take care of public works. Let them go do the social workers.
Angry union leaders accused county leaders Tuesday of violating portions of the existing contract and dragging their feet on talks for a new one.
We get a slap in the face, we get union busting, we get law breaking. Is that the thank you we get for working through the pandemic? Are you kidding me?
In response to SEIU's rally and protest, LA County leaders told KCAL in a statement talks haven't even started yet, and they believe making strike threats is not productive. The county is not yet at the bargaining table with SEIU 721, and we are disappointed that labor has chosen to preemptively and unnecessarily engage in heated rhetoric, including unfounded accusations and threats of an unwarranted strike that would put our most vulnerable county residents at risk. SEIU promising their members a hard-fought battle for a better deal.
When we fight!
Union workers received a 12% raise when the current contract was approved 2 years ago. They also got new health and child care benefits. It was another 10 months on that contract before it expires. Juan.
All right, Tom, thanks. Today, federal prosecutors officially charged Ryan Ruth with attempting to assassinate former President Donald Trump. They say Ruth staked out Trump for 12 hours and wrote a letter saying he wanted to kill him. Ruth was initially charged with 2 federal firearm offenses. The upgraded charges reflect the Justice Department's assessment that Ruth methodically plotted to kill Trump, aiming a rifle through the shrubs surrounding his West Palm Beach golf course. The threat of violence on the campaign trail still remains high. Police in Arizona are investigating apparent gunfire damage at the campaign office of Vice President Kamala Harris in Tempe, just days before she visits the state. Well, with 42 days until Election Day, both candidates are focusing on a top issue for many Americans, the U.S. economy. Vice President Kamala Harris will add details to her economic plans in Pittsburgh tomorrow. Former President Donald Trump presented his in Georgia today. As CBS News correspondent Robert Costa reports, one of the cornerstone proposals is already drawing skepticism.
In battleground Georgia today, former President Donald Trump proposed tax breaks for companies that make products in the U.S.
Not only will we stop our businesses from leaving for foreign lands, but under my leadership, we're going to take other countries' jobs.
Trump also said he would impose a 100% tariff on cars coming from Mexico.
The only way they'll get rid of that tariff is if they want to build a plant right here in the United States with you people operating that plant.
But some economists and even members of his own party say tariffs could lead to higher inflation.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of tariffs. They raise the prices for American consumers.
It's Trump's first visit to Georgia since a conservative election board that he has praised approved a controversial rule requiring all precincts to hand count ballots, in addition to a traditional machine count. That prompted criticism from officials in both parties, including Georgia's Republican Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
Do you worry the board's playing politics?
Some of their rules would actually delay the process. We don't think that's healthy for our republic at any time, but particularly now when we are so highly polarized.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris has returned to a cornerstone of her campaign, reproductive rights, calling for a change to Senate rules to reinstate protections under Roe v. Wade.
I think we should eliminate the filibuster for Roe. 51 votes would be what we need to actually put back in law the protections for reproductive freedom.
Last night, Trump also addressed the issue of abortion and said he would protect women.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free. You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
That was Robert Costa reporting. CBS News will host the only vice presidential debate between Senator J.D. Vance and Governor Tim Walz. That's next Tuesday, October 1st. You can see live coverage on CBS Channel 2 and streaming on CBS News Los Angeles. All right, back to our breaking news. That dangerous pursuit coming to an end in South LA. Let's go to our Desmond Shaw live in KCAL. Des.
Well, Juan, this is the very end of the scene. This is the suspect who was injured in all of this. They're now being taken away. Here is the Lexus that they crashed not once but twice. So I'm going to have so this is off of Avalon and 73rd as they get ready to load the suspect into the back of the ambulance here. We're going to fly south and see if we can show you all of the anarchy that happened on Avalon. So that was the very first scene, and then we know we're going to come to a crash site right here where there was an innocent person involved in this crash down in here. So this is going to be Avalon and Manchester where this took place. So as I zoom in here, you see the bumper got knocked clear off of the back of this vehicle. right here.
Wow.
Looked to be a pretty violent crash. We saw when we were trying to keep it on the pursuit there early before we ran into the clouds, how that suspect was still continuing to drive so crazy, even though they had lost 2 tires. And you see here an innocent person involved in that. Looked like the back end got taken off completely, and then they continued for just a couple of blocks. We'll see if we can continue even further south. This was the worst that we had heard, where a innocent person had been hit. I think it's going to be right down in this area. It was a pedestrian that was crossing the street, and they were hit. So this is Avalon and 90th Street where this all happened. It's unclear if that person has been transported to the hospital yet or what their condition is, but someone hit, and then a car hit, and then a crashing end. All this happening on Avalon within 5 minutes of them losing both of those tires. So pretty crazy night, but that person now in custody. Juan, back to you now in the studio.
So much damage covering so much of an area there in South LA. All right, Desmond, thank you very much. Well, here we are at the end of September, October, just around the corner, but it still feels like summer at times. Meteorologist Evelyn Taft here now with what we can expect in next weather.
Right, it's a little bit of like June gloom mixed in there with warm summer-like temperatures, a little bit of fog, a little bit of everything. But that fog has really been sort of the center of our forecast. It's come in, it's been dense. It was dense last night, and well, we're at it again today. As we get a look at your next weather, what we are watching forecast, that fall warm-up will continue, but we are expecting that cooling trend to really start to begin a little bit tomorrow. You might not notice much of it because it's only a couple degrees difference, but what you will notice is that fog. It's going to continue to stay with us. Low clouds and fog every morning and in the overnight hours. So as we get a look at LAX this evening, I'm going to step off and show you that fog will continue to stay dense through the horseshoe, and as it does, it will continue to stay with us through the early morning hours. So let's take a closer look at what's happening right here. And as we do, you'll notice that marine layer. I want to sort of dig in and kind of show you what happened today marine layer wise. I'm going to step off and show you that we did see that marine layer go all the way up to our mountain communities today. So we didn't get to the interior valleys, but our coastal mountain and foothill communities, the valleys, and yes, the coast and basin were inundated with that marine layer, and it took a little while for it to clear, and that's why we didn't get that daytime heating and we got cooler temperatures. We're going to do it again tomorrow, but by tomorrow we're going to get even cooler. So a little bit of a cooling trend really starting to kick off. And as we take a closer look at Futurecast, your hour by hour forecast right here, you will see clouds, maybe even a little bit of drizzle produced from the clouds first thing in the morning. By 12 o'clock, things start to clear out nicely, and then we clear out completely by the time we head into the evening hours by 5 o'clock. Then that fog pushes right back in again overnight tomorrow through early morning hours. But by the afternoon and the evening, we're back to clear conditions. So you'll notice this pattern. It's going to stay with us on Friday as well. And then you'll see tonight as the fog continues to roll in, temperatures will continue to cool down to the 50s and 60s. And by tomorrow afternoon, we're up to the 70s and 80s. 81 for Burbank and Pasadena, 85 in Claremont. And as we get a look at your next weather 7-day forecast for the Basin and Orange County, temperatures in the 80s for the next few days. By Saturday and Sunday, we're expecting to see 70s. By Monday, we're up to 80 degrees and close to 80 by Tuesday. Coming up in just a little bit, we will have your next weather forecast for the valleys, the IE, and beyond, and we'll break down more of that hour by hour, when you can expect the fog and the clearing over the next few days as well. But for now, Juan, back to you.
Thanks, Ev.
You can smell it.
A concerning sight and smell in southwestern Ohio. Officials say a dangerous chemical leak on a train prompted an evacuation order for people in Whitewater Township. We're told styrene gas is leaking through an open valve on a train car. Officials say they're concerned about the potential of an explosion due to the rising temperature inside the train car. Crews are working to contain the vapor by cooling down the affected areas. Israel pounds Hezbollah militants with a new barrage of strikes, fear of wider war growing tonight. In handing over her life savings to a stranger, a local woman gets caught up in a scam. Why she's blaming the bank for not doing enough to stop it. Tonight, rising fears of an all-out war on Israel's northern border. Israeli fighter jets launching another barrage of strikes against Hezbollah militants. Officials in Lebanon say hundreds of people, including dozens of children, have been killed in the past 2 days. Hospitals there are overwhelmed and thousands are scrambling for safety. We have team coverage from the region, starting with Imtiaz Tayyib in Beirut.
Beirut's southern suburbs targeted yet again in an Israeli airstrike. At least 6 were killed in the apparent assassination of another top Hezbollah commander. As tens of thousands of civilians flee Israel's devastating bombardment of southern Lebanon. Since Monday, at least 558 people, including 50 children, have been killed in the strikes, according to Lebanese health officials. This elderly man only barely surviving. Israel insists it's only targeting Hezbollah's military infrastructure, while Hezbollah says it won't stop firing rockets until the war on Gaza ends. But the Iran-backed group is outgunned and deeply compromised after Israeli intelligence infiltrated Hezbollah's communications devices, causing them to explode. And yet, the attacks on both sides of the border are only escalating.
I'm Chris Livesay in Kiryat Bialik, a town in northern Israel that's been hammered by the Iran-backed group.
Most of Hezbollah's rockets and drones have been intercepted by Israel's Iron Dome defenses, but not all of them. This one landed right in the middle of this neighborhood, damaging 80 to 90 homes, we're told.
Bar Pellet is a local construction worker.
It's not 100%. You have missile here, missile there.
Israel says Hezbollah fired some 300 rockets today. This was one of them, narrowly missing families hiding in their shelters.
I hear children. I mean, people are still here.
Yes, of course. They're nowhere to go. This is our house. This is our home. Where we go.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the Lebanese people today that Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was leading you to the brink of the abyss and warned that anyone hiding a rocket in his garage will not have a home.
Heads of the UN calling the current global situation unsustainable as the General Assembly meets in New York amid the growing conflicts in the Middle East. President Biden taking the global stage for the last time as the U.S.'s commander-in-chief, expressing hope that diplomacy can prevent a larger war from consuming the region.
Full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible. In fact, it remains the only path to lasting security.
As Ukrainian President Volodymyr
Biden also reaffirmed his support for Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is scheduled to speak on Wednesday, then plans to visit the capital on Thursday. Alex Jones InfoWars is headed to the auction block after a judge approved the liquidation of the media platform. The money received from the auction of the assets will go towards paying the Sandy Hook families. The families won nearly $1.5 billion in lawsuits against Jones for repeatedly calling the school shooting a hoax. Jones filed for personal bankruptcy after those verdicts. He says he does plan to continue his shows despite the sell-off of InfoWars. Well, there's been a surge of overseas scammers robbing Americans online. Billions, in fact, have been lost, and there's a new challenge confronting American banks. Tonight, CBS News correspondent Jim Axelrod has the story of a 92-year-old L.A. woman who lost her life savings despite her daughter pleading with her bank for help before it was too late.
I'll never forget, there was a message on my phone.
Hello, I'm calling with Charles Schwab with the Financial Crimes Investigations team.
This was 6 months ago. The message for Leslie came from Charles Schwab, where her mother had an investment account.
They just mentioned large transactions and wire transfers, and did I know what was taking place?
And you didn't?
No, I didn't.
Leslie, who asked we only use her first name, was discovering her mother was one of tens of thousands of Americans being scammed by criminals overseas this year. These scammers pretended to be IT experts from the government who told her mom her computer had been hacked and convinced her to take money out of her account to buy gold, which they said was a safer investment.
I didn't talk to my family about it.
Especially insidious, the scammers told Leslie's mom, Ruth, to keep all of this secret.
Well, I wanted to tell them, but I thought that the government would punish me, and I didn't want them to get into trouble, anybody that I told.
Leslie was a trusted contact on Schwab's paperwork, and the firm had her ask her mom about what was going on.
We said, where is the gold? Is it in your apartment? Is it in a safety deposit box? Where is the gold? And she wouldn't tell us.
This is surveillance video showing exactly what happened to the gold. Watch as Ruth walks it outside her retirement home and hands over her life savings to a stranger.
It must be heartbreaking for you to watch that.
Absolutely. Shocking.
One after another, the balances in her mother's accounts began to plummet.
How are you doing today? So I said, I'm going to film the entire interaction with you and the scammers on my phone.
Okay, let's start all over again, no worries.
Until Leslie convinced Ruth.
Okay.
The people on the other end of the line were not there to help.
Now, next, click on next.
And convinced her to fight back.
Every single day, they required her to sit next to her computer, take their calls, and log into whatever accounts they needed.
Leslie told us that she warned Schwab, thinking if they knew what was happening, they'd put an end to it.
I am begging you, lock my mother's account down, please.
But it was too late. Ruth's accounts had been drained. Schwab declined an interview, but disputed Leslie's account, saying the company repeatedly communicated with Leslie, and she did not express concerns after speaking with her mother.
There were so many red flags.
Attorney Anne-Marie Murphy filed the lawsuit on behalf of Ruth, alleging that Schwab's inaction amounted to aid and material contribution to the scammers, which Schwab says is untrue and unfair.
Everybody that has a credit card in this country is familiar with having transactions declined. And the reason that credit cards are so good at doing this is because they're on the hook for fraud. The same isn't true with banks.
With the responsibility comes the consequence if you fail at protecting your clients.
Correct.
Banks invest billions of dollars in trying to catch these guys, but we can't do it alone.
Paul Benda from the American Bankers Association says it's the government's job to help target the scammers, not just the financial industries.
Government has to play a key role in here. So when a bank calls up with a potential scam, we need them to engage quickly and help us make the right decision.
At 92, Ruth, who spent her professional life taking care of others as a nurse, has now lost her life savings.
This should not happen to any decent, law-abiding citizen who's spent their whole life working so that they can save a bit of money for their retirement. And something needs to be done about it.
Jim Axelrod, CBS News.
Well, Charles Schwab would not do an interview, but they did emphasize it is difficult for a bank to tell a client they can't do what they want to do with their own money. Some financial institutions have figured out a way to identify and intercede with potential scam victims. And we're going to tell you more about that tomorrow on CBS Mornings. That airs on CBS over on Channel 2 at 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. All right, a father-son broadcast duo who both share a passion for sports, and Chris Harry is here now with that story. Chris.
Love this story, Juan. Born and raised in L.A., 24-year-old Brendan Craig grew up an avid sports fan. He's turned that passion for our local teams into two distinct careers, a stage manager by day and a play-by-play announcer at night for the LMU women's basketball team. But it's the special relationship with his broadcast partner that makes his story so unique.
Are you our dance cam winner? I have this beautiful poster for you signed by the players. Great job being outside. Boom.
A senior stage manager for Angel City FC. Brendan has also worked for the Rams, Kings, Ducks, and LAFC. Tell us what a stage manager does.
It's different across every industry, right? And I work in, sports, music, concerts, corporate, whatever. But in sports, it's really a lot like TV. We set up the shots that you see on the Jumbotron, the events that you see happen on the field and around. Basically, we like to say anything you hear or see, stage management and the production crew and game pres have a hand in it. It's your moment on the screen. You're going to be up there. No one else is going to be up there. So you get to enjoy it, show people whatever you want to do, okay?
After starting his broadcasting career in high school, Brendan's big opportunity came while working as a producer at Loyola Marymount.
One day we didn't have broadcasters for a women's basketball game. They called out, and I said, well, I've done play-by-play. It's fine, I'll jump in. We didn't have anybody available. said, but I'm not doing this alone, right? I need an analyst that actually knows a good amount of basketball.
And who better than his father, Gary, a clinical professor of law at Loyola Law School, who shares his son's passion for basketball.
When Brendan gave you the call and said, Dad, I need a partner, what was your first reaction?
You're not serious, are you? I mean, we have a good time watching sports together. You know, I will make comments while we're watching the game, and sometimes he'll get pissed because I'll say what the commentator says before the commentator says it. So it's always been kind of a joke. But when he said, you know, do you want to do this? After I got over the shock, I'm like, of course. I mean, to do it with my son? How could I not do it, even though I really didn't know what I was doing?
But how would you guys describe your style?
I have always tried to gear it toward, we're sitting on the couch like he's saying, and he's saying the things before the commentator on the screen says it. It's casual, right? I wouldn't call myself a professional broadcaster. Sure, I'll call him a professional analyst. He played basketball, so he could be an analyst, but we really just try to make it so that the listeners feel like they're watching this game at home with us.
I've called it a bucket list thing. I'm not sure that's accurate because it's not like I ever had it in mind. Yeah. But sometimes when we're doing the broadcast, I have to check myself and just appreciate what he's doing. Play-by-play is really, really hard.
Once a hobby, broadcasting has become a true career path for Brendan.
The pride we have is immense, and just being able to see him here at Angel City today doing his thing, you know, we'll be in the stands and look, say, hey, there he is, and we have to remember, oh, we're watching the game too, but we're focused on him.
How about that? A really cool way to spend time with your dad, right?
A great father-son relationship and a super cool job.
Yeah, and you know what? All the fans love how they do the play-by-play to the LMU women's fans.
They do a great job. Yep. I love it. Thanks, Chris.
You got it.
And big fans now, actually. I'll be here on Friday, but my family will be there at the game on Friday. So, yes, go Angel City. All right, well, we are expecting good weather for it, and a little bit of a cool down fall-like forecast is finally here. We're going to take you through your hour-by-hour forecast coming up.
And I'm 7 editor Mike Rogers at the desk. One of several people arrested in a string of murders ordered to stand trial. What the judge had to say and why his defense attorney tried to get out of it. That's ahead.
All right, Mike, and bird flu sweeping through Central Valley dairy farms. What it means for the milk supply next.
they can smell that sugar way more so than we can. So they get sort of sugar crazed. They're very intelligent animals. Get out of my house.
Ahead on KCAL News at 10, uncontrollable cravings for sugar and alcohol. And we're not talking about people, the new concerns about bears.
I have never been treated like that by anyone before.
And a former Olympian speaking out about why she was arrested at a Walmart self-checkout.
Baby. It's for a mama and baby.
And the new movement by mamas paying it forward. But first, here at 9, one of several suspects charged in a series of murders has been ordered to stand trial. KCAL News assignment editor Mike Rogers is at the desk. And Mike, he's not the only one that's being ordered to stand trial.
Yeah, you know, Juan, the defendants or the attorneys for all of these defendants have all asked the judge to dismiss this case. The judge has denied it almost every single time. We'll show you some video. This was a really troubling case back in 2023. This is the video of when they were all finally arrested by law enforcement. Now, these are all alleged to have been murder and robberies. Now, one of the cases, the first case actually happened on the Angeles Crest Highway. This is the second scene down in Ranchos Palos Verdes where 2 people were shot and killed. You see the bullet holes in the car. This is the one up on Angeles Crest Highway. Now, law enforcement, the DA's office, they all accuse these guys of trying to rob the victims. 3 separate sets of victims that we don't believe know each other, or at least one car at Angeles Crest Highway and a separate car in RPV. Those 2 sets of victims did not know each other. These are all apparently alleged robberies according to the DA's office. They are all being charged. Here are some of the victim photos here. They are all being charged with various murder and robbery charges and, of course, gang enhancements as well, according to the DA's office. So all 5 of them ordered to stand trial. This was just the latest one that was also ordered to stand trial after his defense attorney tried to get the case kicked. One.
The list keeps growing. Mike, thanks. New here at 9, California regulators are sounding the alarm on bird flu sweeping through the state. The California Department of Food and Agriculture says 34 herds throughout the Central Valley have been infected with bird flu, otherwise known as H5N1. It isn't necessarily fatal to dairy cows, but it does decrease their milk production.
As every other operator in the industry is, we are worried about it. Would be nice to know proximity. As far as knowing who it is, probably not.
Well, the CDFA shared this statement saying when asked about the exact farms with detected cases, they said practicing enhanced biosecurity reduces disease spread, thereby protecting both animal and public health. In some areas, disclosing the county would effectively disclose the location of an affected dairy. According to the CDC, the pasteurization process kills the virus, making it safe for you to drink the milk. When it comes to airports in Southern California, LAX owns the spotlight. But about 50 miles east, there's an airport that's becoming increasingly important to the region. In tonight's Look at This, our Desmond Shaw heads over to Ontario.
We'll take a look at this huge airfield. This is Ontario Airport, a hidden gem that's been serving the Inland Empire for over 100 years. And you may be as surprised to hear that as I was. Ontario can trace its origins back to 1923, when it was first known as Latimer Field. It was situated on a strip of land a few miles west of its modern-day location. It was named after an orange packing company nearby. Back then, it was a simple dirt landing strip for transporting agricultural goods, and it was on land that had been leased by the Union Pacific Railroad. Operations didn't begin here until 1929, when the city of Ontario started with a 30-acre tract of land on the southwest corner of this now massive site. And then in 1941, the airfield grew to be nearly 15 times that size when the airport obtained another 470 acres of land for longer runways. As the U.S. entered World War II, the newly opened airfield became a dedicated base for the Army Air Corps to train pilots to fly the P-38 Lightning. In 1946, it was renamed Ontario International Airport, since cargo was now being transported from here internationally. But the military didn't relinquish control of the airport until 1947. 2 years after that is when commercial service began here. According to the San Bernardino Sun, some of the earliest trips were from Ontario to Shanghai, China, followed domestically with flights to San Francisco and Phoenix, Arizona. The airport experienced a rapid expansion in 1967 after a joint powers agreement that saw the airport become part of the LA Regional Airport System, an agreement that got messier as the years went on. But that's also when jets began flying out of here, with connections to Denver and Salt Lake City becoming especially popular. By 1972, 1 million people were flying out of Ontario every year, and by 1986, that figure jumped to 4 million. This airport's always been very strategic for air cargo operations, and that became even more true when by 1990, both FedEx and UPS made Ontario their West Coast hub for air cargo. More recently, Amazon has also jumped on board with a huge presence here. Today, close to 6.5 million people utilize Ontario International for popular destinations like Dallas, Las Vegas, Seattle, Mexico, and Taiwan. And it can be a great way to bypass the notorious headaches of LAX. I know more than a few people people who'll drive here from LA to fly out because it really is that much easier. They say their mission is to boldly seize every opportunity to connect the Inland Empire to the world. FlyOntario.com to learn more about this great alternative to LAX. Taking a look at this from KCAL, I'm Desmond Shaw.
And if you'd like Desmond to take a look at something interesting in your neighborhood, write us at lookatthis@cbs.com.